Hello, blubbery people. My daughter Kira, you might remember her, she's the funny looking one with the odd shaped head. She asked me to do an introduction for the second part of our interview. So interesting she had to split it in two. So here is part the second of the wonderful world-changing interview we did together last week.
Do you ride regularly now?
No.
What made you fall away from cycling?
I haven't really thought. Well, I got involved with coaching and stuff, and then you end up standing at the side of the road with a stopwatch and shouting at people, and you don't. I mean, I raced right up until I got a really bad dose of flu, proper flu, not like, you know, a bit of a cold. And I tried to get back on my bike, and you know, I knew physically there was something not right, and that's when I did me level 2 with BC. Started coaching.
That's
and I sort of never got back into it. Yeah, and I've never, you know, gone back to riding since then. I've ridden the odd 10 and stuff.
Yeah, just for fun.
Yeah.
Do you have any cycling goals for 2018?
I definitely want to ride more. Definitely, definitely. But I'm going to pick and choose. You know, in the old days, I would ride. You know, I think it's a Sean Kelly quote, wasn't it? You know, when you whiz the weather too bad to cycle, get your kit on, go out and ride, and when you get back, then decide whether the weather was too bad. That's how I used to be. I genuinely used to be like that. So I'd go and I'd ride, yeah, and just recover. But now when I look out the window and it's sleeting and stuff, and there's like, you know, ice on the road, I think.
So what bike do you ride now?
I've got quite a nice bike actually. I used to ride a Colnago C40, which I absolutely love. I still think it's the best frame ever. Although, you know, there are lighter frames out there and all the rest of it. In terms of how it rides and the comfort for a racing frame, brilliant. However, if you weigh more than 95 kilograms, you can't ride it. So, I don't ride that anymore. I'm just a touch over that now. I've got a Kona downstairs, which is a aluminium frame with carbon ends. And quite an unusual thing to have a road bike, a Kona road bike. They're more known for mountain bikes. But it's quite a nice bike. Yeah. It's as good as I ever raced on.
Dad, can you tell me your most embarrassing moment in cycling?
I can. And it happened in 2017, which is last year. I do a bit of commissaring. And I had been commissaring on a Thursday night at Rockingham Motor Speedway in Corby. Great place for people to learn how to race, actually, men and women alike. I'd commissared there, and as I came out, got in my car to come home, I thought, oh, my nose is running a bit, and when I put my hand there, I had this really bad nosebleed, which lasted for a good hour. I had another nosebleed the next day, that was the Friday, Saturday the same. Sunday, I was commissaring a women's road race. Got up in the morning, I'm thinking, oh, you know, hope my nose is going to be all right. I've had these nosebleeds, no problem at all, it's fine. Drove down to this race, you know, do the usual pre-race stuff, you know, people signing on and all that. And then I had to do the riders' briefing. So I called all the riders round, bellowed at them in a loud voice about, you know, where the double white lines were, where there were parked cars, all the usual stuff that you do, the safety stuff. I said, right, move over to behind the lead car, and off we go. And as I finished that, I felt my nose starting to bleed, and it bled and bled and bled all the way through the race. I had tissues up my nose, all the rest of it. I had to call the first aid car forward. He had a load of wad in, he handed me, and I was shoving it up my nose. Couldn't get it to stop. So, to get to the most embarrassing moment in cycling, I went back to the HQ, and my nose was still bleeding after the end of the race. Right, so it's like 2 hours later. Yeah. And first aid bloke says, there's only one thing for it, just push your head back. And he just went, and he shoved something up my nose, you see. He went, no, that stopped it, and I felt a bit of pressure. I thought, no, it has stopped. So I'm walking round, you know, giving people's licences back and doing all the race result and all the usual, telling people off who hadn't been riding properly. And then I realised what this bloke had done is actually shoved a tampon up my nose. So the tampon was up my nose with the string hanging down and everything. And I was walking around trying to be officious at a women's road race with a tampon up my nose. Is that embarrassing enough for you?
Yeah, that's
a true story.
You know, where do you think you get your hilarious personality from?
It's just a gift from God. So I came from Liverpool, and everybody takes the piss there, you know, big time. So there's two ways of dealing with it. You either keep your head down and conform, or you do what I do and you be the opposite.
Over the top.
Yes, I do shave my legs. What are you going to do about it? You know, that kind of thing. Because obviously, when you're a youngster at school.
Oh yeah, because I guess as a guy, like that's quite a big thing, isn't it?
Yeah.
Shaving your
I
legs.
go, yeah, the shades. Even if it does bother you, if they think it doesn't bother you, they you know, it doesn't become an issue.
Mm. What's your favourite cake? Like if you're going to a cafe stop and you know you've done a ride, what would you have at the coffee stop?
I wouldn't stop on a ride unless it was an absolute epic of like, you know, all day. I would prefer to not stop, so I'm not a cafe stop person like you.
Okay, well what would you have at the end then?
I'm going to say date and walnut.
Ooh, yeah, alright, I see that.
Yeah, very nice. Good quality cake, bit of tea.
Bit of tea, yeah, lovely. What's the longest ride you've ever done?
Gather me thoughts. When I was 16, mate.
So quite a while ago then.
Yeah, it's more than 5 years ago. School holidays, mates and me, we rode to Edinburgh and back. You know, tents on the back, all that, sort of cycle camping, we call it, I suppose.
Yeah,
carried everything. Yeah. The thing about this holiday, Laddo had this lightweight tent, my mate, Stan the man.
Stan the man.
Yeah. And I literally, halfway through this holiday, I got that pissed off with him. I literally tried to murder him. And when I say I tried to murder him, if I'd have been stronger than him, he would be dead now. But he was like twice as big as me at the time, so I was like similar build to you, and he was a bit more like Bluto-like. Bluto?
Muscular.
Yeah, it's Bluto, isn't it, in Popeye? He got this tent, he said, I've got this lightweight tent, it'd be brilliant. And when he got it out, the zips had all like, they're aluminium zips, and somebody had tipped some washing soda in it. And all the zips had like welded shut, so we had to like rip the tent to get in it. So we couldn't close the tent, right? And then it's an inner tent and a fly sheet, and you're supposed to have these little poles to separate the two, like tubes missing. So the tent was touching, and it rained every day, so the rain was just coming straight in, and it was a sewn-in ground sheet, so it was literally just like a pool of water every morning. Anyway, so we get to the longest ride. So we'd gone up to Edinburgh, and I think we were somewhere north of Harrogate. And I said to him, mate, I have had enough of this. I'm just going home. And we rode all day, all the way through the night. Lights falling off and exploding. We carried on, no lights, just kept riding. And we got home. I don't know. It was getting light again. It was probably 7 o'clock in the morning. And we'd ridden since. It was probably 7 o'clock the previous morning. So for 24 hours, and that was about 170 miles, something like that.
Are you still friends?
What was Stan? No. He went a bit odd. Pressure. Yeah, living with me. He was lodging with us at that time. We had a house in Leicester, and he was renting a spare room. This is real in-depth stuff. You're hard-hitting.
This is hard-hitting, deep stuff. So is there anything else that you think that my lovely audience would like to know about you? Because obviously...
No. It's just darkness inside. Darkness, death and darkness.
Because obviously you're in the cycle show video, and a lot of people were like rating you. Your presenting skills, yeah. Okay. Yeah, they were like, oh, classic grumpy dad, love it.
Well, I am grumpy dad. That's, you know, we sort of fell out for quite a long time really over cycling, because I suppose it was a pressure thing. And we actually had a long period when we could not talk about cycling at all.
No, not at all.
Because what would happen, I would say something, you know, maybe negative, but, you know, in a sort of coaching type of way, and that was just criticism,
I think...
which would send you off the end. Or I'd go, Kira, that was really good, mate, and you go, don't be sarcastic, I hate you. So in the end,
I think it was difficult, especially when you're like a teenager, to distinguish between coach and like dad.
Definitely.
And I definitely think I see young riders all the time like gobbing off to their parents. And now I'm like, oh goodness, I would never do that.
What? What?
But obviously, like, I don't know, it's just at the time it seems worse than it is.
Because I mean, I suppose your initial coaching was from me. You know, you moved on quite quickly. You know, you were on Talent Team and stuff with British Cycling, and that was, you know, But even then, you know, I'm your dad and I know a bit about cycling, so when you were doing something wrong, I found it quite difficult to
not tell me.
Tell you. Although in the end, Kira would say to me, what do you think about such and such? And I would say, I have no opinion. And that would wind you up, why won't you tell me? Like, you know damn well why I won't tell you. We're all right now, you ask me stuff, I suppose.
Yeah.
And I can tell you stuff without you. Yeah, I can tell.
Yeah.
We're always friends.
Oh.
We're always friends. Yeah. But that was hard for me.
Yeah. But I think cycling is such a big part of our family in particular. Like you said, you know, we're fourth generation cyclists, and your brothers also raced. And you've got 4 brothers.
All my brothers raced a little bit. Sean, the next one down from me, raced a lot, you know, and he would have been an elite now. If he was right, he was a good first cap.
Yep.
Won a lot of races because he had a good gallop and a good time trial and good everything. What I was going to say is, you know, to go back to the us falling out over me giving you advice thing, even in that period when we weren't talking about cycling, we couldn't talk about cycling. If one of your mates came to you and said, Kira, you think my saddle's too low? And you'd say, go and talk to Mo, go and talk to my dad, he'll know. So you got your voice straight off, see that?
Yeah, that was a pretty good impression to be fair.
Yeah, like you're in the room, the little you was in the room.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, so, you know, even in that period when we weren't talking, we couldn't talk about cycling, I think, you know, there was always that feeling that, you know, we sort of could help each other still.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
But there must be parents watching this. If you've got your own kids, then I imagine that, you know, if you try and tell them something, they're not going to listen to you as much as they might listen to someone else. I think that's just growing up, though.
I basically made my living as a coach.
Yeah.
Going up to kids and saying, mate, your saddle's too low, and his dad said, I've been telling him that for 2 weeks and he won't listen to me. That was basically, you know, there's a little bit more to it than that, but, you know.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
That was your job. Thank you so much for coming and having a little chat with me.
You are so lucky to have me.
And the internet.
Hello, internet. You scary beast.
So, do you know the sign out, Dad?
Yes. Would you whisk it for a stiff bit?
No. Do you know the actual sign out?
Yeah, of course I do. Okay. In case she hasn't mentioned it already, Kira's doing a video every day this month. So if you're not subscribed already, subscribe, comment. If there's anything you'd like to know about my cycling career, such as it was,
comment below.
Comment below. And if you want any in detail advice about, you know, setting your bike up, all the rest of it, go somewhere else. All right. It is imperative, essential, and very important that you do risk it for a biscuit.
A biscuit.
Together.